When someone replaces you quickly, it's very tempting to feel like you didn't matter. It's tempting to believe that everything you built together was disposable, like it was never real in the first place. But that's not what's actually happening. When someone moves on fast, what it really reveals isn't how little you meant, but how uncomfortable they are with feeling pain. It shows how quickly they need to find something, someone to fill the void, to distract themselves from the emptiness they don't know how to sit with. Think about it. Truly processing the end of a relationship requires reflection. It requires facing the mistakes you made, the ways you didn't show up, the way you lost something good because you didn't nurture it properly. That kind of honesty with yourself is painful. It's a mirror most people don't want to look into. So instead of dealing with that discomfort, they reach for the easiest way to numb it. They run into the arms of someone else. They build a new story, a new distraction. Because if they can convince themselves they're happy again, maybe they can outrun the sadness, the loneliness, and the regret that's quietly waiting for them. But emotions don't work like that. You can suppress them, you can drown them out temporarily, but they will find you sooner or later. In a quiet moment, in the stillness, those feelings rise back up. They surface when the newness wears off. They show up when the next person can't magically erase the history, the memories, or the connection you shared. That's when regret creeps in, not because you were easily replaceable, but because you were never replaceable to begin with. You were just easy to avoid feeling the loss of temporarily. And here's something you need to understand. The person who moves on fast isn't stronger or better at letting go. In fact, most of the time it's the opposite. They are weaker in that particular moment because they are too scared to do the hard work of healing. Real strength is choosing to sit with the pain, to feel the grief, to learn from it, to let it change you, to let it make you better. Numbing yourself by rushing into something new might feel good in the short term, but it doesn't build emotional resilience. It doesn't teach you anything. It doesn't create growth. It just delays the inevitable crash. You, on the other hand, have an opportunity. You have the chance to feel it all. The good, the bad, the confusing, and come out stronger, clearer, and more deeply connected to yourself. You are not avoiding the pain. You're facing it head on, and even though it hurts, even though it feels unbearable some days, you're doing the work that most people are too afraid to do. And that is something to be incredibly proud of. You see, when someone replaces you fast, it's not a statement about your worth. It's a statement about their relationship with themselves. It's about their inability to sit with loss, their fear of loneliness, their discomfort with real emotional accountability. They aren't moving on because you weren't valuable. They're moving on because they don't yet know how to value anything properly, including themselves. The real tragedy isn't that they found someone else. The real tragedy is that they didn't find the courage to sit in the empty space long enough to truly grow. They jumped ahead to the next chapter without reading the lesson in the last one. And while it might seem like they're winning right now, understand, life has a way of teaching those lessons whether you volunteer for them or not. You can delay it, you can mask it, you can pretend it's not there, but eventually life brings you back to the truth you tried to skip over. It might not happen tomorrow. It might not happen next week, but it will happen because emotional shortcuts always have a cost. They pay for them later in confusion, in dissatisfaction, in the painful realization that no matter who they're with, they still feel incomplete because they never did the work of healing what was broken in themselves. Meanwhile, you are writing a different story. You are not desperate for a quick fix. You are allowing yourself to feel the depth of this ending. You are learning what real self-respect looks like. You are not chasing someone who doesn't know what they lost. You are standing in your worth, knowing that someone else's inability to appreciate it doesn't make it any less real. And here's the beautiful part. Because you are doing the hard work now, you are becoming the person who won't settle for surface level love later. You are growing into the kind of partner who attracts someone who has also done the work. Someone who chooses you, not out of fear, not out of loneliness, not because they needed a distraction, but because they see you clearly and value you deeply. That kind of connection can't be rushed. It can't be manufactured in a moment of panic. It's built over time through growth, through honesty, through genuine healing. And that's the road you're on. So when you see them with someone new, don't get caught up in the illusion. Don't believe the story your fear wants to tell you, that you were forgettable, that you weren't enough. Remember that quick replacements don't solve deep problems. Remember that real connection is rare and precious, and it doesn't get erased by someone's impatience. Trust that the person who truly sees you, the person who truly values you, will be someone who took the time to find themselves first, just like you're doing now. And when that day comes, you'll realize that what you thought was a loss was actually just the space you needed to make room for something real. You know, it's funny how quickly people try to replace what they lost. You see it all the time. One moment, you're sharing a history with someone, real memories, real connection, and the next, they're posting photos with someone new, acting like none of it ever happened. And if you're not careful, in that moment, you can start to think that maybe you didn't matter. Maybe you were just a stepping stone. Maybe they've really moved on and found something better overnight. But let me tell you something important. What comes easy leaves easy. When someone tries to fill the void you left with a quick replacement, it's not a sign that they're healed. It's not even a sign that they're happy. It's a sign that they're uncomfortable sitting with themselves and they're desperate to escape the silence you left behind. They're looking for noise, for distraction, for anything that keeps them from facing the emptiness they feel when you're no longer there. See, deep connections don't get replaced like a pair of shoes you wore out. They linger, they echo, they live on in ways the other person can't even begin to understand until much later. And that's the part people forget. They think that because someone moved on quickly, it means they won, that they're ahead somehow. But fast moves are rarely about strength. They're about fear, about panic, about trying to prove to themselves and maybe to you that they're fine when deep down they're anything but. Here's the truth. Anyone can find company. Companionship is easy. Swipe a few times, send a few texts, find someone who's willing to fill the space. But connection, real, soul, deep connection, that's rare. That's precious. That doesn't just show up because someone needs it to. It's built over time through vulnerability, trust, and shared experience. And if they had that with you, truly had it, they are not going to be able to recreate it overnight, no matter how hard they try. You might not see it right away. You might not hear about it. They might do a really good job pretending that everything is shiny and new and perfect. But over time, the cracks start to show. That excitement of something new starts to wear off. And then they're left with the reality that a different face doesn't replace a different heart. It doesn't replace the energy, the way you listened, the way you made them feel seen, understood, cared for in ways that go deeper than surface level attraction or fleeting excitement. You have to understand something about people who rush into something new. They're trying to outrun the part of themselves that feels broken. They want to skip the pain, the reflection, the lessons. But growth doesn't happen in avoidance. It happens in the hard moments, the quiet moments, the lonely moments, the moments they're so desperate not to have. And by rushing into something new, they rob themselves of those opportunities to truly heal, to truly evolve. And when the dust settles, and it will settle, that's when the real regret kicks in. That's when they realize that the connection they traded away wasn't just about having someone there, it was about you, your specific laugh, your particular way of caring, your energy that made even the ordinary days feel extraordinary. It wasn't something generic. It wasn't something interchangeable. It was you. But the best part, by then, you won't be waiting around for their realization. You'll have grown. You'll have built a life that is so rich, so full, so vibrant, that the idea of going backward won't even appeal to you anymore. You'll understand that you weren't the one who lost something. They were. They gambled on the idea that excitement could replace depth, that attention could replace affection, that novelty could replace intimacy. And that's a losing game every single time. So if you're sitting there wondering why it was so easy for them to move on, remind yourself, easy come, easy go. What is built without foundation falls apart the first time it's tested. And trust me, life always brings the test. Whether it's a hard moment, a disappointment, or simply the realization that they feel just as empty now as they did the day they lost you, the test always comes. Your job isn't to hope they regret it. Your job isn't to spy on their life and look for cracks in the facade. Your job is to invest so deeply in yourself that their regret, when it finally arrives, is irrelevant to you. You'll be too busy living a life you love to care about who finally woke up and realized what they threw away. Remember, you are not a placeholder. You are not a temporary fix. You are the real thing. And anyone who thought they could replace you easily is in for a lesson they won't soon forget. The only question is, will you be so far ahead by then that you won't even bother looking back? Good, you should be. When someone replaces you quickly, it's easy to feel like you didn't matter. It's easy to think maybe I wasn't special, maybe I was forgettable, maybe I'm easier to move on from than I thought. But the truth is, your absence often teaches a far more powerful lesson than your presence ever could. See, when you're around, it's easy for someone to take you for granted. It's easy for them to get used to your kindness, your support, the way you laughed at their jokes, the way you encouraged them when they doubted themselves. It becomes background noise to them. They forget that not everyone offers that. They forget that the way you cared wasn't standard, it was rare. When you're still in someone's life, they don't have to imagine what life would be like without you, because you're still there. You're still picking up the pieces, still offering your love, still being the safety net. But when you step away, when you actually leave, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, when you disconnect your energy from them, they're forced to sit with the reality of what they've lost. And trust me, that silence, that absence, echoes louder than anything you could ever say. At first, they might feel relief. They might convince themselves that moving on quickly is a sign that they've done the right thing, that they're free. They might even parade the new person around, convincing themselves and everyone else that they've upgraded. But relationships aren't about optics. They're about substance. They're about that unspoken understanding, that depth that's built over time. The emotional investment that can't just be duplicated because you decided to fill a void. And that's where regret starts to creep in. It doesn't come in loud all at once. It sneaks in quietly in the moments they don't expect. It's the song you used to play together. It's the way someone new doesn't understand their weird habits the way you did. It's realizing that new isn't necessarily better. It's just different. And sometimes it's lonelier. When someone jumps into something new too fast, they skip the essential part, reflection, growth, facing the uncomfortable feelings of loss, guilt, or sadness that could have actually made them better. So instead of evolving, they end up repeating. They recreate old dynamics with a new face, carrying the same emotional immaturity that cost them the real thing in the first place. Meanwhile, you're out here doing the actual work, healing, growing, reflecting, becoming stronger, wiser, more in tune with your needs. You're not stuck chasing the illusion of happiness. You're building the real thing from within. And that's when the imbalance starts to show. That's when they start feeling it, because time has a funny way of exposing what's real. And when you've been real and they've been pretending, time always tells the truth. The beauty of walking away with grace is that you don't need to announce it. You don't need a grand speech about how much they'll miss you. You don't need to post cryptic quotes online hoping they'll see them. Your absence is the speech. Your absence is the quote. It says everything. I loved you. I showed up for you. I was real with you. And now I'm gone. And what you'll find is that slowly but surely, your absence will start to echo in their life, in conversations they wish they could have, in the moments they wish they could share, in the times they need someone who gets them and realize that person isn't standing there anymore. No one can replace authenticity. No one can replace history. No one can replace the person who saw them at their worst and still believed in them. And yes, they might try to replace you fast. They might try to act like it didn't hurt. They might pretend they're happier now. Let them. Because here's the truth. It's not your job to monitor someone's regret. It's not your job to sit around waiting for them to realize your worth. Your job is to live, to build a life so full, so rich, so meaningful, that whether or not they ever come to regret it becomes irrelevant. Their regret is their journey. Your healing is yours. Don't mix the two. Don't hold your breath for the apology that may never come. Don't pause your life hoping to be proven right. You already are right. Not because they say so, but because deep down, you know the value you brought. You know the love you offered. You know the energy you gave. And no one can take that away from you. Someone replacing you quickly doesn't diminish your impact. If anything, it highlights how unready they were to truly value what they had. And in the end, that regret, it's theirs to carry, not yours. Walk away with your head high, your heart open, and your future wide. Let them learn slowly, painfully, silently what they lost. Because your absence will teach them more than your presence ever could. You have to understand something important. Their regret isn't your responsibility. It's not your job to stick around and wait for them to realize what they lost. It's not your role to prove your worth to someone who couldn't see it when they had it right in front of them. When someone moves on quickly, when they replace you fast, it's tempting to want them to feel immediate regret. We fantasize about it sometimes, right? About them realizing instantly what a mistake they made, about them looking at their new situation and thinking, God, what was I thinking? I lost someone amazing. But if we're honest, that fantasy keeps us trapped. Passages to someone else's timeline, someone else's journey, someone else's awakening. And that is not where your power lives. Your power lives in movement, in momentum, in the way you choose yourself instead of waiting for someone else to choose you. Every second you spend worrying about whether they're regretting it yet is a second you're not pouring into your own life, your own healing, your own growth. You don't need their regret as validation. Their regret doesn't give you your value. You were valuable the whole time. Their inability to see it doesn't take that away. And here's the truth most people don't want to hear. Even if they do regret it, it won't look like a dramatic movie moment. It won't come in the form of a grand apology or some emotional speech on your doorstep. Regret often creeps up slowly. It creeps in when they realize that the connection they thought they had with someone new doesn't have the same depth. It creeps in when they realize that your kindness, your patience, your laughter, your energy, those things aren't easily replaced. It sneaks up on them when they're lying awake at night, thinking about conversations they can't recreate with someone else. But by then, by the time that moment arrives, you'll already be gone. You'll have outgrown them. You'll have healed in a way that makes going back impossible, even if the opportunity arises. That's why your focus right now isn't on revenge or on hoping they're miserable without you. Your focus is on building a life so full, so rich, so deeply satisfying that their regret becomes irrelevant to you. You're not competing with their next chapter. You're writing your own, and it's better than anything they could have imagined for you. It's easy to think that being forgotten quickly means you didn't matter. But the opposite is often true. People who rush into something new are running from feelings they don't want to deal with. They're trying to distract themselves from the discomfort of losing something meaningful. It's not that you didn't matter. It's that you mattered too much. And facing the reality of that loss head-on would be too painful. So instead, they look for a shortcut to feeling okay again. They search for a way to skip the hard part. But the thing about shortcuts is they always come back around. They always lead to dead ends. And when that dead end comes, when they're sitting there feeling the emptiness that comes from trying to replace something real with something convenient, it's not your job to be there. It's not your job to pick up the phone. Fine. It's not your job to nurse their wounds or soothe their regret. You are not their safety net. You are not their lesson. You are not the fallback plan they get to reach for when they realize what they threw away. You are the one who walked away with grace. The one who knew that your value was never tied to someone else's ability to recognize it. You are the one who chose yourself. And in doing so, you gave yourself the greatest gift anyone can ever receive: freedom. Freedom from waiting, freedom from hoping, freedom from needing someone else's approval to feel good about who you are. And when you claim that freedom, when you live fully in that space, something magical happens. You become untouchable. Not because you don't feel pain, not because you don't care, but because you've risen above needing anyone else's recognition to validate your experience. You become someone who is simply moving forward, with or without the apology, with or without the closure, with or without the regret. That's real strength. That's real healing. It's not cold. It's not bitter. It's beautiful. It's choosing peace over chaos. It's choosing dignity over drama. It's choosing your future over your past. And that choice over time builds a life that no one can take away from you. So if you're sitting there wondering, when will they regret losing me? I want you to change the question. Ask yourself instead, how can I love myself more today? How can I invest in my joy today? How can I move forward in a way that honors my growth? Because that's where your real power is. That's where your light shines the brightest. And that's when, ironically, without even trying, you become the one they can't forget. Some people move fast after a breakup because they think that speed is going to save them from pain. They believe that if they can just rush into something new, if they can just fill the gap you left behind with someone else, they won't have to deal with the uncomfortable feelings that come when you lose someone important. But here's the truth. That most people won't admit to themselves